Hey guys, this is Nick with another Motion Dad tutorial, and today I'm doing this kind of crazy slideshow with some parallax and some different transitions and effects. They're all cool, really fast to use, and non-destructive. And once you set them up, then you can make some crazy stuff with this coming right up. So check it out. Now, first thing we're going to do is open a new composition. I'm going to call this section A or something. 1920 by 1080, 24 frames per second. 5 seconds is good, I think. And hit OK. And for me, I have these images of kind of like devices and stuff like that. That I'm going to use, but you can literally use anything here. And I'm going to pre-comp this. Kind of did this all backwards, but I'll just call this image. Go into image and actually make this 1920 by 1080 as well. No real need to make it any bigger here. And scale it down. That way, if we have another picture we want to use later, we can just pop that in and go back to our section A. And now this is all out of whack. Really starting the tutorial off strong. And next thing I want to do is create some text like, hey, and that will be our text. I'm going to just roughly center that up. In fact, I'm going to make the anchor point in the center using motion 2. Use motion 2 a lot, is my jam. Makes things really easy. And align it to the center like so. Alright, so the first thing I want to do in this is mess with how the motion is actually going to work. And I'm going to do that using expressions. And you can, for that parallax effect, you could use a camera or something like that. But I find if you use expressions and a null, it kind of frees you up. You kind of know once the expressions are set what to expect from the motion. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start by creating a null object, and this is going to be my main control. And for the image, I'm going to link that to the main control. However, so if this scales up, so does the image, and so forth. But I want to kind of create this auto slow zoom effect, so the background is always kind of scaling up no matter what the null control is doing. So it will move with the null control, but it will also be scaling on its own very subtly and very slowly. So for that, I'm going to do this Alt, hit that stopwatch right there, and do F equals, do F for effect equals 100 plus time times 8. And then a semicolon, and then F, comma F. So basically what this is saying is that the effect is going to be 100 to start, plus the time, and then times 8. And then this just means for the 0 and 1 value, it's going to be that. And we already can kind of see that it is auto scrolling with the time, and it's very subtle and nice. However, if we were to scale this up, it would go with it, but also still subtly scale. So that's all fine and good. Nothing groundbreaking there. For the text itself, I want to not tie it to the null, but I'm going to tie the scale of the text to the null, but with an offset. And this is going to give it a kind of depth of field kind of feeling that you would maybe achieve with a camera and separating the layers, but instead of making them 3D layers, I can just do this effect. So for that, I'm going to do an offset, and it's going to be offset equals. I'm going to tie it to the first value, the x value of the scale, and then divide it by 100, semicolon. And then it's going to say, it's going to get kind of confusing, but it's going to be basically you're going to say what the x and y scale values are here. So for the x is going to be this times the offset, and then a comma, and then this one times the offset. And in there. So what we're going to see happen is nothing happens right off the bat, but when I adjust the scale of the null, we're going to see the background move linearly, and we're going to see the text move kind of exponentially. And you'll see as I just make a quick keyframe and it gives it just a bit of a feeling like they're not moving quite together, which is kind of nice. So that's kind of the motion piece, and just want to show that if I were to copy this and let's say it said you, hey you, and then go down to the expression, and I wanted this to seem, I don't know, like it was separated from the hey in the background and it was its own thing. I can adjust the offset to be different, so I can maybe make it 90 or something like that, and it's going to give it a separate feel. Or you can adjust it to 80, and it's just going to give it a different feel. So again, this is like kind of an effect that you can achieve with setting up a camera and a null and separating in 3D space the background and the text and stuff like that. But you could also do it with expressions. And then once these are set, we can duplicate this and copy these expressions over to the next comp, and it just kind of makes everything a lot easier to deal with. All right, so now let's get into a couple of cool and flashy transitions that are non-destructive and really easy to, again, copy and manipulate, and it's going to be really fun. The first thing I want to do is kind of get in, say this is the first slide in a slideshow. So we want to get in to this. And what I want to do is use a optics compensation to zoom into this. So I'm going to do a adjustment layer, call it OC, get my optics compensation, and this is going to basically give a fish eye effect. That's great. That's the reverse of what we want, so we'll just check reverse and keyframe this effect. Now it kind of looks like garbage, and to get away from that, there's just not as much information in the photo to make it interesting. We want to look like we're coming from way far away and zooming into it, and this looks like we're just kind of bending the background. So what we're going to do is use a motion tile effect on that background, and this is going to make the image endless. So let's just turn off our optics compensation for now and move our tile width to 33, something like that, and mirror the edges. And while we keyframe the optics compensation, we're going to keyframe that back to 100 as well. And I'm going to drag both of these out, keeping them in sync, maybe make it about a second long or something like that. And I'm going to, again, use motion to play with the curves. You can use the graph, but this makes it really easy, like I said. And just adjust the ease and turn this optics compensation back on. Maybe too long an effect or not enough ease on it, so I'm just going to jack it up. All right, so we got this nice zoom in, and it's looking pretty good. And we have our motion set up. So I want to make, I could play with this null control. I might wait on that and just do a outro transition. So to do that, I'm going to also, use a motion tile type effect again. I'm going to set up a new adjustment layer and call this outro 1, and start it here. I want this to be maybe like a second long, so there we go. And find my motion tile again and apply it to this. And this is going to affect the entire composition. And basically what I can do is kind of adjust the position of the center, and it's going to trick the eye into going into the next frame, which you will see. But for now, I want to basically cut the frame in half. So I'm just going to apply mask to this and scale it to here. Boom. So now we have this kind of thing. I can mirror the edges. Might be kind of nice, kind of a nice effect. And this kind of looks weird right now, but it's once you spin it fast enough, it's going to look kind of cool and flashy and all that stuff. So let's reset it for now and duplicate this layer. And we want to adjust this mask, so we're going to drag the top down to get the bottom here. So now we have this kind of thing going on. So to get out of this, we're basically going to start at the center of both comps and keyframe the tile center and do, I don't know, let's go all the way to the 5 seconds. And I'm going to mirror the edges. And really the reason I do this is to give it this kind of endless effect. And when it stopped on this frame, looks like, of course, I'm mirroring it, but when it's in motion and there's motion blur applied, it looks really cool. And I gotta mirror the edges on this and that. And so I got this kind of transition where it cuts in half the whole frame, and I did not even have to duplicate images or text and mask them and all that crap. I just made 2 adjustment layers and put the mask on them. Of course, you can use 3 different layers and cut it in 3s or however you want to do it. So I want to make sure that they're kind of moving at the same kind of speed. And I think another thing that I want to do is apply some outward ease. So I'm going to turn this off for time. And I think another thing I might want to do here is kind of make it scale as I'm doing that. And it's kind of like what you're doing here is just a bunch of stuff to kind of disorient and make it kind of unexpected but fun. So what I want to do now is duplicate this whole thing and use the outro as an intro into the next one. So I'm going to take this section A and duplicate it. And make it section B. And I'm going to change the image up. So I got to duplicate this image layer to image 2. Put that in there and go into my images. I got a second one here. It's a little stack of phones. Maybe move it down. There we go. So now I have section B. Get this crap out of here. Objects comp and motion tile. Don't need it. And I'm going to take this outro and I want to essentially like reverse them. I want them to be coming in to focus. So I'm going to just take this guy here. All right. And I'm going to change my text. Make it say you. All right. Now I'm going to put these onto one master comp. So single comp. I would like to work like from top up. It's always the way I've done it. So, hey you. So it's not perfect right now, but we will apply a mask. I'm not going to worry about that right this second. I'm going to go back into section B and kind of make this better. For one, I think it goes on for too long, so. And the cool thing about this is now I have the same kind of motion displacement parallax thing going on because I've already set the transitions or the expressions. So I can get as crazy as I want with this control. Maybe not that crazy, Jesus. And the next thing I want to do is do like a similar effect to this, but instead of using motion tile, I'm going to use something called Displacement Map. And the cool thing about Displacement Map is you can make a motion like this where it's kind of chopped in half or in threes or whatever, but the picture inside is also moving due to the displacement effect. And I'm just going to show you how that works. So my outro here is going to be another adjustment layer, and I'm going to call this shit. I'm going to call this Displacement Map DM. And again, it's going to be like a second, I think. Second. Go to my effects and my displacement map. And it's not doing anything right now because I don't have it set up. I don't have it mapped to anything, so I'll show you how that is done. So to get this effect to work, you need to create a displacement map. And it's not that hard to do. You can do it with shape layers. But basically what I'm going to do is this map is going to read the luminance, the shape layers that I create. So essentially it's just going to be black and white. It's going to be looking at the gray level, and the image is going to move based on that. So instead of going horizontally, I will have them run. Let's see here. Let's just play around, see what happens. Thirds, And this one is going to be lighter. And this third one is going to be dark as well. So based on this, the image, the comp is going to move. And if it's darker like this, it's going to move one way. And if it's lighter like this, it's going to move the other way. And if it's really just kind of middle of the road gray, it's not going to move at all. So there's like a lot of guess and check based on this. The other thing I found is that this thing kind of works better when the shape layer is pre-comped for some reason. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to right click and pre-comp and just call it map, because that's what it is. So we can just turn the eyeball off and then take the DM comp, and you'd say the displacement map layer is map. So it doesn't do too much to start, but this is kind of what's going to happen. So I think I want these to move vertically like this. And I want them to have that like kaleidoscope look again, or just expanded. And with like, again, the motion blur, it's going to like look cool. So 0 over here and ramp this all the way up like that. And again, we want to give some ease here because it's going out. So we want to give it like some hesitation. And it would be cool if this again was, maybe it was, let's see, maybe it was scaled up. And it's zooming out. Would be kind of neat. So it's kind of like a slot machine or something. Turn that motion blur on. That shit is looking cool. So one thing you might notice is you got these little black lines in between. Let me zoom in. Got these weird black lines in between the repeat, and we don't want that. So we're going to set up an adjustment layer to fix that. Adjustment, and all you got to do is use a simple choker. And we're going to match this up with this effect. So Alt, bracket, left bracket, right over top of that. Choke. All this is going to do is kind of lessen those so it just looks kind of repeated seamlessly. I'll just bring that down. You just don't have those lines now. Again, if you didn't like how this was moving, let's say you wanted the center to move down, you could just go into the map and adjust the colors of these rectangles. So rectangle 1, and make it like white. And now it's moving down. And it's cool because it's like, if it's pure white, it's going to move at a certain speed. If it's slightly grayer than that, darker gray, just slightly, it's going to have an offset from that. And we can kind of see that here. Like, this is moving at one speed, this is moving at a slower speed, and the reason is because our map, it's bright white, little darker, and then very dark. Now, if you had this at, and this is weird, if you had this, just pay attention to this number right here. So this is 100. That means it's full bright, pure white. If you had it at 50, go back. It's just not moving at all. Like it's moving because of the null, but it's not moving up like it should. So it's just weird like that. So you just gotta play around. And I liked it when it was that white color and moving slightly different than that. And then this is like just doing its own thing. Play around with that. So the one thing I want to work on is making this transition a little better. I'll turn off the motion blur. I want this to kind of mask in while we're seeing this. So let's check this out. Let's make shape. Let's set the anchor point to the end here. Scale. And there we go. Make that an alpha map. And pull this back. Yeah, it's so much better. And once you put that on there. It's right here, so keyframe should end there. I know I'm not speaking a lot, but it's like a lot of this is just creating this kind of disorienting effect by splitting the screen in thirds or two, using like the optics compensation and the motion tile to create this like seamless kind of whip pan look and a bunch of erratic motions and stuff like that. So there's I guess what I'm saying is there's no real tried and true method of how to do this. It's basically like you have this tool belt, this toolkit of things, and you're just kind of throwing things in there. And then at the end of the day, you're applying some motion blur to make it kind of all fit together. So now that I have that down, I'm going to make a section 3 and make a section C. And I'm going to use the outro of the last one. This displacement map I'm going to use as the intro for this third one. And just to drive home how easy it is to make this shit look cool and do it really quickly. So take this dude right here, I'll just delete those. And these guys are going to 0. It's so easy, man. It's like I don't have to do any masking. Once you set it up, it looks so good. Hey, you. Right there. Shit. All right, go back to master comp. Didn't even call it the master comp. It's the master comp. It's the main. Put another 5 seconds on this thing. Section C. There we are. Oh, snap. There we go. All right. Again, we're going to just do another alpha matte into this. Put that anchor point at the top there. The scale property out. Unlink it. And alpha. And of course that looks good because it's the same pick. So let's change the pick back to the first image because I only have 2 of these images to work with. And we overshot it a little bit. So move it back. And I don't want any, like, you know, black in there. I want it to like go from scene to scene, like just seamlessly, like a slot machine, something crazy. All right, so the one thing I'm not doing is really messing with these null control motions, which you can really customize and make them look cool. The thing I like though is even with them not really set all that accurately, I just kind of threw some keyframes in there. It's still got that motion in the background where it's just kind of zooming in, just endlessly zooming in. That looks really good. Another thing you can do is start messing with the text. Start messing with that tracking. Have that thing tracked out and then tracked back into 0. Can't even see it, but there we go. All right, that's it for me, and I hope you found this helpful. If so, let me know in the comments. If not, let me know too. You know, I'm trying to learn from you guys and trying to get better at this. So please comment and subscribe, and I swear I will at least get back to you in the comments if you have a problem. And see you next time.